York, same as Chicago, doing so in a red state where we don't have statewide equality measures like we should. It's a point of pride for myself and the majority of the city council. It's good for the people of the city of Phoenix. It's good for business. We can't achieve our long-term economic goals as a city unless we are a city that stands up for equality, supporting every single person within our city. And of course, I too want to give a special welcome to our guest here today, Jim Obergefell. I hope I got that right. Close. Clark. Yeah. Thank goodness. Jim is a courageous person. He's the named plaintiff in the historic marriage equality case of Obergefell versus Hodges. And this case gives Jim a special and permanent place in our nation's history. You will go down in the history books for your courage of coming forward and standing for equality. And I am confident, I believe the Supreme Court is going to do the right thing, but they need to hear from the American people, because not only is the law going to be right when they rule in your favor, but also they're going to be on the side of the majority of Americans, I believe, who believe in equality of all people. Through this case, Jim has become a hero for LGBT equality, the hero for loving families across the United States. He's becoming a hero for those of us who believe in the unalienable rights outlined in our Declaration of Independence: life, liberty, pursuit of happiness. They are not just reserved for some in the country, they are there for all of us in the United States of America. When Jim shared his story of his devoted and loving relationship with his longtime partner, John Arthur, he became a hero for every loving couple that has been denied legal recognition of their relationship. So I just want to say, Jim, thank you. Thank you for your leadership. Thank you for sharing your story. Thank you for standing up for equality. And in the coming weeks, in the next few weeks, we will hear the historic decision of the Supreme Court as to whether or not couples like Jim and John will be treated equally under the law, whether or not their love, their history, their commitment will be treated differently than that of mine with Nicole, for example. We need to remember that this decision, though historic as it should be, will not end the fight for equality. As Fred said, there is still a lot of work to do. With great organizations like Human Rights Campaign, Equality Arizona, Competitive Arizona, and many others, they're going to play a key role. We must keep the momentum going for LGBT equality. In February 2013, the City Council, myself and a majority of our council, passed a non-discrimination ordinance to make sure that our LGBT residents and visitors are protected from discrimination, whether it's at home, at work, or in public places. This ordinance is just as important today as it's ever been with equal marriage in Arizona. We need to make sure that a couple can get married one weekend. I'm going to steal your line. A couple can get married one weekend and not worry about having negative employment consequences, even being fired for putting their wedding photo on their desk. In Phoenix, we made the decision to protect everyone. Our brothers and sisters in Scottsdale, Mesa, Nogales, and Glendale, I know they're considering this ordinance. I can only speak to my friends, mayors, and city councilmen of those cities. Our LGBT non-discrimination ordinance, our human rights ordinance, has been great for the people of the city of Phoenix. Not just our LGBT citizens, all citizens, and it's been great for business here in the city of Phoenix. And I urge all cities across the state to do exactly the same thing as we did here in Phoenix. And I hope the governor and legislature are listening to and just get it done statewide so we don't have to do it on a city-by-city basis. It's time that we take those protections statewide. It's time. It's way beyond time that all Arizonans are protected from discrimination, no matter who they are. So I personally am committed to the LGBT equality, and we know that our friend Jim is too. So let's hear from a person who is one of the most courageous people you will meet, someone who will go down in history, Jim Obergefell. Jim.
Thank you, Mayor Stanton. It's a pleasure to be here in Phoenix. So when my husband John died, I never thought I would have to fight all the way to the U.S. Supreme Court to defend our marriage. If I hadn't started that fight, however, I'm not sure I would have ever realized that the battle will continue even after that ruling is released later this month. Let me explain. For the more than 20 years John and I spent together, I promised to love, honor, and protect my partner John. But until a few short years ago, We never expected to say, "I do," and to have those words and promises carry any legal weight. Two things changed, however. The first was the Windsor decision by the Supreme Court in 2013 that struck down parts of the Defense of Marriage Act. The second was my husband John's rapidly advancing ALS. I realized that there was no better way for me to keep my promises to him, to protect the man I loved, the man I'd cared for 24 hours a day, than marriage. And there isn't a better way to honor my late husband than to stand here today in front of you and tell our story. You see, to this day, my state of Ohio would still not allow John and I to get married. We had to charter a medical jet with the help of our family and friends and get married on an airport tarmac in Maryland. At the time, Maryland was one of the few states with marriage equality. After we married, we made the decision to file suit against the state of Ohio in order to demand recognition of our lawful out-of-state marriage on John's death certificate at the time he died. We won, and when John died, our marriage was recognized on his death certificate. 2 months later, the state of Ohio appealed. To this day, the state where I was born and raised wants nothing more than to erase our relationship of 20 years and ignore our lawful marriage. And they even want to prevent me from being memorialized alongside my partner of almost 21 years in his family cemetery plot. That's why I'm proud to stand here today with the Human Rights Campaign and to join with every LGBT American to demand my rights. What I've also learned along the way is that marriage is not the end of our battle for equality. Far from it. John and I were very lucky. We weren't kicked out of our homes. Our families never tried to fix us. We never lost a job because of who we are. We never hid our relationship out of fear. We were never denied service in a business, and we were never physically attacked because of the way we were born. There are far too many people who can't say that. Matthew Shepard couldn't say that. Leila Elkhorn and Islam Nettles, both victims of anti-transgender violence that continues to claim life after life after life, couldn't say that. And to this day, there is still no federal law that says LGBT people cannot be discriminated against in employment, in housing, or in public accommodations. Today, I'm here to make a promise, and it is a promise that's as sacred to me as the promises I made to John on that airport tarmac. I promise to keep up the fight for LGBT community until full equality is truly a reality. I promise to work with HRC and our community for a fully inclusive, comprehensive LGBT non-discrimination bill. Until that day comes, we are leaving far too many people behind. I fight for my husband, John. I fight for Leila Elkhorn and Islam Nettles. I fight for Harvey Milk and the millions of LGBT Americans who have gone before me, and those who will follow in our footsteps. I fight for an end to discrimination, nothing more and nothing less. And here in Phoenix, I fight for an America that lives up to its promise of liberty and justice for all, and an America that lives up to the words inscribed above the front door of the Supreme Court: equal justice under law. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Steve Zylstra, President and CEO of the Arizona Technology Council and also Chairman of the Technology Councils of North America. From both a personal and business perspective, non-discrimination just makes sense. We should all be treated equally in the eyes of the law, and all of us should be judged on our job performance, nothing more and nothing less. At the Tech Council, we're working hard to help promote an Arizona that is welcoming and open to business for everyone. But the fact that you can still be legally fired, denied housing, or refuse service simply for being gay or transgender is working against us all. We hear all the time that companies want to go to places that reflect their culture. And the fact of the matter is a majority of large technology companies have the very same fully inclusive non-discrimination policies that we are advocating today. companies want to make sure they're operating in states and in cities like Phoenix, where their employees are protected equally, both in and outside of the workplace. From a business perspective, non-discrimination is an economic growth and sustainability tool. It gives Arizona a competitive advantage and ensures we can attract the very best talent, no matter who they are or whom they love. We've seen technology companies coming out for non-discrimination policies nationwide. In fact, the Arizona Technology Council has added a statewide fully inclusive non-discrimination policy to our public policy agenda in 2014 and 15, and expect to do so again in 2016. This is an opportunity for all of Arizona to get ahead of the curve and gain a competitive advantage in attracting high-wage businesses to Arizona. With your help, I'm looking forward to an Arizona that's truly open to business for everyone. I couldn't help but note the American flag behind us, and Jim mentioned this same thing, but I was at an event this morning giving the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and those final 6 words seem so germane and so appropriate: with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much.
So we want to ask the media if you have any questions for